Well, good morning to another edition of What's on Your Mind. I am DJ Val, and I'd like to welcome you to this very special episode where we go into part 2 of building, sustaining, maintaining, and keeping those good, healthy relationships. That's coming up right after this.
What's on your mind? Let's talk it out. With Olive and Val, there's never a doubt. Morning vibes that feel so fine. Tune in now, it's breakfast time.
Tune in now.
It's breakfast time.
Welcome, one and all. I am DJ Val, and to my right or to your left,
The real deal Olive. Bonjour, bonsoir. You are welcome to another episode of What's on Your Mind. How are you all? How are you all? How are you doing? Sleep okay? You doing good? Enjoying the heat?
Akosomate.
Darling everybody, darling the friend, the cat, the dog, call them all in. This is where the real conversation is taking place. How are you? Bonjour, bonsoir, ça va? Buenas tardes, buenos dias. How are you keeping?
I just had a picture of the dogs that's like
Yeah.
on the floor
Joining in.
watching.
Yes. That's it. That's it.
The Honorable
That's
DJ Val.
No, the dog is agreeing. Have you got pets? Answers on the postcard.
Do your pets enjoy what's
Do
on
they
your
join
mind?
The cats, the parrots. Do you have pets? Tell us. Where are you joining in from today?
No pets.
Thank you so much for telling us all the locations you were joining in from. Some from South London, Birmingham, Bristol, Brighton. I saw somebody say they were from Brighton. Thank you so much. Lagos, Port Harcourt, wow. Abuja, I think we got one.
Yeah, you got Abuja.
Oh
Port
my
Harcourt,
goodness.
Leicester. Yep,
And
Leicester.
There was Brighton, yeah. Bristol, Brighton. Oh, thank you all so much. Thank you. Thank you for tuning in from wherever. What are you doing? Shopping? Are you by the pier? If you're at Brighton, where are you? Tell us. It's good to have you with us today. And if this is your first time with us, you're very welcome and you are in very good company. Let us know if it's your first time, and the What's on Your Mind family will make you very welcome. With no further ado, let's kick off. I've got an international greeting for you today, and it's a repeat one. So, every now and again, I like to look in the archives and see what we're doing and what we've done. So the greeting for today is one we've done before from Vietnam. Do you remember it? No, don't make that sound.
Thinking.
No. Chao Boy Sang from Vietnam.
You sure we've done that before?
Chao Boy Sang, to be very precise. This weekend last year, that was our international greeting. That's what I did. I went into the archive.
Chao Boy Sang.
Boy Sang. Greetings. It says hello. It's a generic hello. And last week, we had Mommy Kemi introducing the one from Wales, Boreda, to us. And we had Benue State, we had Wonchi. Which other international greetings do you remember? Do you remember the one from Romania? Do you remember from Ukraine? Dobro Horanko. Do you remember that? Do you remember from South Africa? Habari? Jambo Jambo? Do you remember that?
Habari, Jambo Jambo.
Do you remember
Akosomate?
Mate? Do you remember from Russia? Prive. Do you remember that? Tell me which ones you can remember.
I was going to say from Russia with love.
It can be with love if you want to. Okay.
From Russia.
Right. let's go into the part of the show that I call one of my favorite parts because it's your part of the show. It's the part where we review your comments. And I asked you last week to please put your view, your opinions, answers to the questions we had asked at the close of the show. Did you get round to? If you didn't, do that today. Come on.
Answers on a postcard, people.
Kicking us off in no particular order. Treasure, that's my cousin from the United States of America. This topic regarding relationships, in my opinion, depends on the generation you ask. True? Gen X has a simple map. Millennials, Gen Z, and the future alphas have remixed the maps. Wow. I agree with you too. Communication and patience is key. Nice one, guys. I totally agree with you.
What does she mean, mix the maps?
Mixed maps is as in they've got the path in which they follow when it comes to, they've got a plan, the blueprint. I would say they've got, this is their model, this is their method, this is their modus operandi, I think. Cuz if I'm right, let me know. If I'm wrong,
never heard
correct
of that
me.
before. Mixed maps, but
Yes.
it's a good phrase.
So it's and she's right. For some people, communication for that generation, where we're having to, when you're talking communication within the context of a relationship, you also need to look at the generation that people are in. So we're going to talk about that because we said we're going to touch on how we look at relationships at different phases in our lives, because that too matters. So you've picked up on the subject for today well ahead of time, cuz. Thank you. Next one from Ben Brown. Communication really is everything, he says. Bumi says, the point about relationships changing through different seasons of life really made me think. So true. Great show. Thank you so much. Seasons of life, phases in life, they're all different. Mr. Frank says, love how DJ Val and Olive bring different perspectives without losing the heart of the conversation. Shalom, shalom. Thank you so much. We do try, because in life, one of the starting point of the conflict is not respecting the various perspectives. Everybody comes into it from their own perspective, and their perspective is guided by many things: their orientation, their experience, many things.
Even just how they woke up this morning.
On what side of the bed they woke up.
Yeah.
Femi says the discussion about boundaries was excellent. Sometimes boundaries are exactly what a healthy relationship needs. Drum roll. Yep, it does. And because we've attached the word boundaries to something not pleasant, something negative, but no, boundaries are there, like we said, to protect us. Tyler Perry, Mr. Perry, good to see you. Really enjoy this episode. The point that relationships are built, not simply found, stayed with me. Utterly. The Bible says that he that wants a friend must first show himself friendly. So if you, and this is why we, when we talk about friendship in adulthood today, we're going to talk about how we curate. In an ideal world, we'll like to curate, build, forge, form the sort of friendship that we would like in our heads. That's how we see it. But sometimes it's not always the case. But nevertheless, how we build it, how we curate it is based on a few things. And I hope that we can touch on some of those things today. Okay?
Sounds like a plan, Amsterdam.
Yes.
Let's go for it.
Let's go for it. On international news, what do we have?
It's coming home. It's coming. Football's coming.
Is it really coming home though?
It's coming home. It's coming. Football. Nah,
how many of you stayed up last weekend to watch? Tell me. Tell us. How many of you went into work late because you overslept? Because you were watching? Tell us.
How many of you called in sick?
No, not on this platform. We're too responsible to do that. We're very, very responsible. We don't do that. No, not here. We don't do that here. Right. National news?
Just never know. There might be one
No.
person out there that thought,
No.
oh my God, I'm just gonna. Sorry, boss. I'm not feeling well.
No. We've got faith in you. And are your teams? This has got to be, this FIFA tournament has got to be one for the history books.
Yeah, it's been a real good
I have
tournament.
never seen
upsets. And
honestly, twists and turns. It has been, you couldn't make it up. Even if you wrote it, you just couldn't. And I think that's what's been, and for me, those are the things I look forward to, the tournaments, the unexpected, the underdogs, the people. And so I would invest my time keeping up with tournaments. So be it the European athletics, be it those major Olympics, all those sort of things, because you're vying for everybody who is putting in the work, who's ready to really, go for it, show true passion. And it never has a sport. If there's a sport that captures shared passion, it's got to be soccer. It just has to be. Now, still on sports, on national news, Wimbledon is still going strong, and Djokovic is still in the running. Djokovic and Sinner they've gone through to the semis, I think. I'm not sure when that's. And for the ladies, Ayana was beaten by Naomi, so she's out. Naomi's back in the top ranking.
Naomi
Osaka, yeah. Oh. Yep. Back in. Again, I love this twists and turns. Anyhow, tell us what you're doing. How are you keeping?
Tennis has too many twists and turns.
Too many twists. 1 minute you're down, 1 minute you're up, 1 minute you're... Oh, anyway. Who are you watching? How are you keeping... What sport is keeping you company these days? Because the summer is full of tournaments.
There's different things on, right?
Different things. The horse derby, all of that. So many things going on. So many. Tell us, who is keeping you company? F1 was on over the weekend as well. And it was a Silverstone.
Oh,
who is keeping you company?
God, that was amazing. And they made it free for everybody to watch. Yeah, it was free to watch. You could watch it on Channel 4 live.
I see, okay.
Yeah, normally they don't do that. But
really?
For some, I don't know what happened, but they just, maybe it was Lewis, I don't know.
Well, it was... which sport is keeping you company?
There was rugby, women's rugby.
So a lot happening, and if you're a sports person, it's like your sport for choice. Moving on, let us quickly do a recap on what we talked about last week, because I'd like us to close this out today. And we said that relationships, whether in friendship, family, marriage, or the workplace, that every healthy relationship ought to reflect God's character, God's love, through his love, grace, truth, forgiveness, commitment, etc. And we said that relationships needed to be intentional with relationships. We said the long-lasting relationships survive because people choose each other repeatedly. We said that every season of life, like the comment section said, asks something different of our relationship, but every healthy relationship asks for honesty, respect, care, and a few other things. The strongest relationships are those who are not without conflict, but those people who keep choosing understanding over distance. We said also that healthy relationships aren't built on perfection, but built on consistency, built on healthy habits, built on those things that truly uphold your values. Right. For today, let's dig deep a bit. Let's unpack the different phases of or the different how relationships play out at the different points of our lives. So we're using age brackets here. My cousin had touched on the Gen X, the Gen Zs, and the millennials. So when you're young, in your youth, the reasons you pick friendships differ from when you're in your prime or your middle age or adulthood. So in your youth, you're not necessarily picking friends because you want them to be lifelong friends. You're picking friends for most times for identity. You're picking friends. Maybe if you're in a boarding school, the reason why you're picking friends are probably people you want to hang out with. So there are no real deep reasons why we pick friends. You just find out that you gel with that person, you get on with that person,
Music,
and you go.
sports,
You find
interests.
common
Yeah.
ground, shared interests. Touch a bit more on that, DJ Val. You were going on.
Yeah, no, I was just saying, just going back, especially when you're younger, even as kids, it's a common thing, play.
Yeah.
You know,
As children,
Yeah.
the common ground is play. Thank you so much for that. That was great. And that's why if someone doesn't play with a child, oh, but they were my friend, they don't want to
to
play
play
with
with me anymore.
my friend, and everybody, when you're a child, is a friend. As long as they played with you once, they're a friend.
everybody is a friend. Yep.
But the moment they snatch your toy, they're no longer your friend. So you move on from that stage.
I'm not your friend anymore.
Uh-huh.
And it really means something to
I
them.
mean, what are you on about?
Yeah.
Honestly, and they don't have reasons why they pick. They're picking friends because that's their common ground. That's their shared interest.
Yeah.
They play together. And as they then get older, it's then again, we get on. They've got things in common. That's why at that age, it's easy for you to find that if your parents are friends and the two families hang out together, the chances that the children become friends.
Yeah.
Because it also, proximity when you're young encourages the friendship. If you really don't see each other often, that's it. And so in people who are in boarding school, they make friends differently from people who go to a day school. Because in the how many weeks they're away from home, you become family to them. Your bunkmates or your roommates become your family. Your shared experiences expand beyond the classroom. So those friendships are picked again from a different standpoint. But then as you begin to get older and you then begin to identify your traits, your character, and you come onto that journey of discovering who you are, what sort of things you like, what you don't like. You then find, oh, that person, I don't like, no, they're too this, I don't like being around them, or they're too that, I don't like being around them. Or if you're smart enough, you create calculated friends. So you're creating friends because what? They're friends for food. They always have food. So you choose them as friends. Or I made friends when I went to a boarding school. So I made friends with those who were intelligent. Because in my opinion, I wasn't here to play. I just wanted to get good grades and out. So my friends were always the top graders, the high achievers. The few friends I had were always the high achievers because I knew I needed people who would encourage me to study, and we could study together, and it wasn't difficult to create a few friends who were like that. So at that, between teens to young adulthood, the reasons you make friends are not that deep. They really aren't. Then also, you then have things like self-worth and low self-esteem. That becomes a problem at that stage. Because if that child isn't encouraged or hasn't self-worth and self-esteem hasn't been built they would make friends again for the wrong reasons. So it's important that at that stage in our lives, and for those of us who are adults, that we make sure the younger ones around us are not deficient in this. And in that phase, things like boundaries and all of that are not formed naturally. You find that it's crisis that allows us to form boundaries. So if somebody has gossiped about you, that's the one you say, I'm keeping away from that person. So the reasons why we create yay or nay really differ. And sometimes we also make friends at that stage due to peer pressure. You want to be in that clique, you want to be in that gang, and for you to be in that gang, you need that other XYZ to be friends with you. And it then becomes, when you're then in that gang culture, it then becomes a thing of loyalty, enabling good or bad behavior, as we find in the young gun culture in the inner cities that we have today, or even historically. So friendships at that age are so fragile, so very, very fragile. You then move on to your young adult age. You've graduated, say, from college, university, whatever as the case may be, and you begin to find your way and make your way in life. And suddenly, if you're working, for some people, that becomes all that they have. That becomes all that they want. I just want to make. And the moment they begin making money, the dynamics change as well. But at that stage, what we want is because at that stage, adulthood now begins to present challenges. But what we really want is to begin to balance the ambitions of whatever we want to achieve with sustaining perhaps some of the relationships we've already made in the earlier phase. So like DJ Val told us last week how he bumped into his friend from secondary school a few times, and from then on they remained in touch.
Just listen to gospel. I have soul. Soul food, soul food, soul food gospel radio, where your spirit gets fed and your groove gets saved. Soul food, soul food, soul food gospel radio. Feel it deep in your chest, 'cause the good news plays best on Soul Food Gospel Radio.
Some people, they relocate. They lose touch completely. Some people are in the same place, so they're perhaps able to maintain the continuity. Alistair remained friends with his primary school boys for a very, very long time, up until uni. Those boys would still get together. And what it did, it made the moms, when we weren't besties, but it made the moms keep in touch, because we still had the moms group where we would always post whatever was happening amongst the boys. And for me, that was really good to see that carry on. And every now and again, I'll check in on him. I'll say to him, what about that person? What about that person? Do you hear from them? And he's like, yeah, actually, we're actually meeting up, or something like that. And I'm actually impressed that now, as busy as they are, they still make time to catch up with each other. Then that's them managing your busy schedules, managing managing how you even, who you choose to remain friends with. Those decisions are made in that. And for some people, the same principles begin to now show perhaps stronger. They then begin to make decisions from a smart move. Is this person in my line of career? Again, shared values, experiences. What can each other benefit from each other? For some people at this stage where they're building their careers, their relationships are very aligned to their path of progression. So they're networking for the reason of networking. So even the friends those little socials become mini network sessions. They go to the pub with certain groups of people because they're networking. So those friendships become around those sort of things at that phase when you're trying to get into that sector, trying to get into that, things like that. Then you move from that. For those who then want to move into family life, settle, again, you find they then begin to gravitate to those who are already settled, who already have family. So the reasons we pick these things become almost unique to each person's values, unique to your chosen path, and unique to perhaps your personality. We then find that it's towards your prime. Some of us, if you're blessed in your 20s and you begin to align your values with all these other things, that's fantastic. But statistics show that it's only when we hit 30, 35, we begin to pause and really realign our values with how we live our lives. And that then you then begin to check how are you picking your friends? And sometimes it's always conflict that brings people to that decision. Perhaps they're falling out with so many of their friends, and they then begin to ask themselves the question, what is wrong with me? How come I'm not keeping friends? Why am I constantly falling out with my friends? That's when they begin to ask those questions. But there are those who, in an ideal world, you want to be asking these questions before you even get into the friendship. But for the purpose of this show, part 1 and part 2, our focus, our emphasis is the building and maintaining, not how we drop. But in building and maintaining, you need to know why you're building, who you're building with, the tools you're building with, to decide who doesn't come along that building project with you. I repeat, in order to know who stays or who goes, you need to know who, why, how, in order to, are they aligning with my mission? Are they aligning with my purpose? And if they are, that then helps you decide who comes on that building project with you. Because ultimately, we're all growing together. That's one of the things that will help you maintain a good relationship. That acknowledging that we are growing. Now, we're all at different levels in life, you were going to say?
I was just thinking, because it's quite an interesting thought that you put there. And I've often thought some friends are going to be with you at the start of your train journey.
Yeah.
And they're going to get off at the end.
At different stop, okay. Mm-hmm.
Others, you're right, it's only for particular periods of time that they're going to be with you. So, if you're in London, maybe they're only going to go as far as Vauxhall. They're not going to go any further than that. Meanwhile, the train goes all the way up into Walthamstow. Let's use that as an example. Mm-hmm. But it's recognizing that when the person gets off the train, that's fulfilling that particular part of your life. And, you may not ever go back there. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're a terrible person, but it just means that's how life is. And you've got to know where you're going, I suppose. If you don't, then what you're going to do is you're going to again, using the analogy of London, you're just going to be on the circle line going round and round and round and round, picking up all kinds of people along the journey, but eventually not really going anywhere. So it's important for you to know where you're going, so that I think that's that's good point you've made there. And adulthood, truly, people, you must acknowledge that people do come and they go. And sometimes by divine providence, that's how it happens. There's really nothing wrong in that. So, God may align you to somebody to walk them through a season. You must then acknowledge and recognize that this relationship is not one that may be a lifelong one. God has brought you into this person's life for a season. I have a few like that.
And sometimes when people ask me, how is that person? I go, I I haven't heard from them in a while. But people like that, I will check in on them every now and again, Christmas and stuff like that. But you look back, you see there was a season maybe when they were going through a particular crisis. For that period, you were their bestie.
Yeah.
They had you on speed dial. But is that knowing if that's you, if you're the burden bearer, so I say that there are different kinds of friends. So it's important to identify the kind of friendship at every point, the type of friendship it is. So we talked about burden bearers when we talked with Auntie Cheji's show, and we said some people are just burden bearers, burden lifters. They carry you along with you. They're the Simon to Jesus's cross that helped Jesus carry. Even Jesus needed a burden bearer. They help with that. They are the Abigail to the king who went out of her way to go and tell the king that this prophet is in town and he could heal you. They're people who help you along. They're not lifelong friends. Once that season is over, they may no longer be your friends. If you're that kind of friend, knowing that that's your role is important. Now, they're the friends who I call the connector friends. They're friends who, any opportunity they see that is positive, that can help you, they're doing it. They're calling, listen, Omo, this is happening here. They're brokers. I call them broker friends.
Translate for the non-Nigerians.
For the non-Nigerians, Omo means baby. As in, this is happening here. They're brokers. They broker friendships. Val, meet this person, off they go. They're connectors.
What's his name's mum's like that? The one that moved to Canada. With his wife. They moved to Canada.
Uncle Nerima.
Yeah, his
mom. Princess. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
She is a connector.
Yeah.
There are people like that. They can't, you mention a problem, they might not be able to solve that problem, but they know somebody who can solve it. They connect you. They're connectors. I call them broker friends. They're brokers. You take a problem to them, they may not have the solution, but they will know somebody who may. They will connect you. And so people like that, again, when you identify that that's who you are, you do it with joy and grace. And they are the ones who may not necessarily have long-lasting friends, because like the 10 lepers, of the 10 people who you connect, only one person might come back to say thank you. Only one person might end up being your friend. So they may not, their diary might have a long list of people, but not many people are their tight friends. Then you have those who, they are the Barnabases. They are the suppliers. You say you need this, they have it. You say you need that, they have it. They have every resource at their disposal. So they encompass the broker, they encompass the burden bearer, and they have the resources to be both. There are people like that.
True.
You say you're hungry, come on. They will not only give you the food, they will send you away with the pantry. You say you're broke, they will loan you and send you to where you're going to make it from. They have the complete resources to do that.
They'll loan you, then they will give you the one that you're supposed to keep.
Yes, that's it. There are people like that. There are people like that. So if that's who you are, and you find that you're doing these things in your friendship, and you go, oh, why is it one way? Identifying who you are first in the relationship matters. It's important. Because sometimes people weigh the scales. Now, where the resources, where the gifts and talents are not the same, the nurturing of the relationship for it to be maintained has to be the same. I'll give you an example. So for the broker, right, who has connected me to
whatever.
Let's use a love relationship, because many people fall into this category where Auntie X has match made you with
Oh,
with
yeah.
John
Yeah.
and Jane, right? Meanwhile, Auntie X has been looking out, and John and Jane hit it off, fantastic, everything is good. Auntie X is knocked off the side. She's no longer a member of their lives for some reason. So Auntie X becomes resentful of their success because she feels she has a stake in that relationship because she made that connection. Rightfully so. But that relationship that first led her to thinking that John and Jane could make a good couple is now damaged because they've not carried her along or maintained their relationship with her. Now, John and Jane, depending on their awareness, their maturity, their level of experience, their understanding, that would determine how this relationship is maintained. Because they're not matchmaking, they're not reciprocating her gesture by matchmaking her with anybody. No. So you see, there's some gestures that cannot be reciprocated. And there's some gestures that thank you is not enough to maintain the relationship. So what that relationship requires is John and Jane honoring Auntie X. The reciprocity and what would nurture that relationship is a thing called honor. How you choose to do it is dependent on what your understanding and also how she is. Shout out to my darling sister, Auntie P, who just got me this dress. Now, there are things she says, Ollie, I can't give you, but there are a few things I know that make you happy. A nice dress does it. And literally, I pulled this dress out a few hours ago, tried it on, I was like, yeah.
I wouldn't have even said it was a few hours, to be honest. I think it was less time than that, people.
What I'm trying to say, that's an example of how, so because people think, oh, how am I going to reciprocate the person's gesture? How am I going to reciprocate the person's love? So we come into this competition thing. You're trying to outdo each other. Nah. Each one a measure of honor. So, like I said, each type of relationship would demand a different thing, whether it be family. Are you trying to form good relationships with even your parents as you get older? Are you trying to redefine your relationship with them? So now you're an adult and you know better, and you're like, you know what, some of the stress I give my parents, it's not really worth it. Let me be a better, supportive child. So some grace will be required towards your parents. Some care will be required because it's difficult to reciprocate. Like I said, in certain situations, some people end up buying their parents houses, cars, what as the case may be. But there's some parents who, before you became an adult, they didn't have any mortgage. They're all done and dusted. What are you going to give those kind of parents? You see what I mean? So you find ways to maintain. And that level of maintenance is where many of us struggle. Like I said, in case of family, you might need grace, you may need care, you may just need kindness to maintain those sort of relationships where they don't need money from you, they don't need much from you. Maybe just breakfast out once in a while will just make that person's world. You get creative with maintaining. Maintaining requires nurturing. Maintaining requires investing. And there's some relationships you're not investing to get back. In the case of family, they're your family. What are you going to get back? I get clothes, but
Just about to say.
I get clothes.
Get an outfit,
And many other things, that they think I like. And again, because they know I don't like shopping, things like this, they say, oh, she will just take that off of her and do it for her. Thank you, Auntie Yemisi. If you're listening, shout out to you, Auntie Ose, Auntie Mash, all these my lovely friends who they keep me topped up. Honestly, from my clothes to my jewelry to my everything to food to you name it, they do all of these things for us, and they're all abroad. Many of them don't live here, so it's a task to get these things across to me. It's a task, and it's a labor of love. I appreciate and love you all. In long-term friendships, I've just touched on mine. In the workplace, the same thing. You've been in an organization for 20, 25 years. Surely you've built some relationships. Do you understand? The way you nurture it differs from someone who's just come into the organization a year ago. They don't know much, but you've been there. And I know some people in my workplace, they go to lunch together. They all join the organization at the same time. They've been there for years. They have a kind of friendship. Do you understand? And however they nurture it by going to lunch together, that works for them. Kudos to them. And then you have marriages, that require perhaps a bit more emotional investment, much like family. How is it? We talked about burnout, and we said that in marriages, you have the highest rate of burnout amongst couples, where the load is carried by one person, and that person is easily burnt out. How is it that we balance the challenges of family life, challenges of marriage, so that there's emotional availability to each other and emotional stability? That you said the word balance, that really does level it out and balances it, allows one person to, I don't subscribe to, I know when we talked about relationships, DJ Val had something like, I think, identified roles. I don't really agree with that. That's one of the few things I disagree with him. I don't really agree that there ought to be identified set roles. I think that. Oh, no? Oh, I'm sorry. I think it was somebody else's comment. I don't think that roles are fixed. I think that, again, seasons cause things to change. 1 minute, somebody could be the breadwinner of the home, and then the next minute, they're ill, they're down, and then it switches. Like we lost a loved one over during the week. Now she's the carer for her husband. She's passed away. What's going to happen to that husband now? Do you see what I mean? So in that instant, the dynamics of that marriage has changed. His caregiver, his wife, has passed away. He probably not in his million years ever thought she would pass away before him. One, he's much older than her. Two, he's the one who's ill. She seemingly was fit, but she's passed. That's switched now. So it's important that in both family life, in general, that we find that ability to intertwine, to interlock, and be mindful. Some people have the tank gauge, and they say to themselves, if your tank is half empty, the other person picks up and makes up for you. So the guy said, if both myself and my wife, we cook, and the looking after of the house is both of us. So if my wife has had a really busy week, she comes in before me, and I notice she doesn't have dinner fixed, I'll pick up that flack from her, especially. So they have a rota in their family. So this person, based on their schedules, this one will look after dinner this week or whatever, as the case may be. But they have a rota based on their schedule. And he says, but we give ourselves grace so that these, when one person isn't functioning in full throttle, the other person picks it up and not say, oh, well, that's your time to do it. You get on with it, kind of thing. Nurturing, investing. Let's wrap this up with a few timeless principles that help healthy relationships at every stage. Be it when you're a baby, your youth, your Gen Z, millennial, Gen X, whichever one. Just a few timeless principles. Good old-fashioned love. I know many people quote that scripture, 1 Corinthians 13:4-7, saying, love is patient, love is kind, love is not self-seeking, and it really is all of that.
However,
it is all of that. It's all of that. However, we fall short in taking it on. So for some people, as long as they're the ones receiving that love, it's okay. They don't want to give. But you see, if you want to look at love from the way God describes it, God himself is love. He's the author of love. God so loved the world that he gave. And that's why people always say that you can't love without giving. You know, so there's something, and I said it last week, some relationships are filled with love. Some are filled, family, marriage, girlfriend, boyfriend, whichever as the case, some are filled with love. And so if love doesn't have all these attributes, being patient, being kind, being not boastful, not selfish, does not keep account of wrong, if it doesn't have all these attributes, it falls short of being love.
Yep.
You know, that's then where we use the word communication, because love is action. And part of that action is communicating it, but whether verbal or non-verbal. Another one, trust and accountability. You need that as much in the workplace as you also need in personal relationships. Owning up to your mistakes, accepting you're wrong. Simple apology turns away wrath. Grace and respect. Like we said earlier, respecting the different opinions, boundaries, giving each other space. None of us know how to love perfectly. Nobody. If you're looking for someone who's going to love you perfectly, then you should relocate to heaven. Nobody on this earth knows how to love perfectly. But with grace, respect, empathy, compassion, healthy relationships flourish when we serve rather than compete. When we serve each other, when we talked about relationships, we talked about love language, identifying what each person's love language. But ultimately, in the midst of all of that, your love language, how you are, it's the mindset. We talked about John and Jane, that if they were mature and had the right mindset, they would know how to nurture Auntie X's relationship. The mindset to which you come in, people evolve, so relationships evolve. Let me close with this. There are things that would change friendships. We talked about when people relocate, you know, and careers change, marriages demand more of you, and you lose touch with your friends. Changing priorities. People evolve. And it's in that evolving that priorities change, things are realigned. But ultimately, if you found a friend, if you have a friend, and you think this is worth maintaining, put into consideration some of the things we've talked about today. Okay? And like I asked last week, do you have a friend do you have a favorite relationship advice? For today, my question will be, do you have a friend who needs a shout out? Who you need to say, you know what? I'm so grateful that I have you as a friend, because all the things Olive talked about today, I saw it in you, or I see it in our relationship. Give them a shout out. Tell us if you want us to give them a shout out.
I'll be your carnival barker.
Yes,
shout out.
We will. And if you have enjoyed this conversation today and last week's, send it to your friend. Send it to maybe even a relationship who maybe it should be more.
Can spark the debate,
Yes.
spark a conversation.
Yeah.
You know, it's more than just, oh, well, I listen. Have your own debates about what you've heard and what you think. And it'd be great for you to share some of your findings with us as well. I think that would be brilliant. But we are going to have to wrap up because time
Stay
is
fit,
against us.
stay healthy. Shout out to all of you. Any special shout outs?
Just an RIP Van Brohill of the Van Brohill Syndicate. Passed away this week as well. So may his soul rest in peace. Clive.
So many people passed away this week. I'm just like, we'll probably have to do like a little obituary roll call, honestly. But thank you all so much. Thank you. Thank you, new joiners. Thank you, regular joiners, regular listeners. Look after yourselves. And like we prayed last week, that our relationships will be known not merely for longevity, but for love. And that not merely for agreement, but for grace. Not merely for shared moments, but for lives transformed by God's love. We pray that the Lord will keep you. He will shine the light of his countenance upon you. And if you need discernment, wisdom as to how to navigate your relationship or give your current relationships a bit more meaning, ask the one who gives liberally, and he will give you wisdom as to how to do it. Are you in a marriage where you need to spark things up a bit? Some people, it's good morning, good night, as the case may be, but you want that to change, and you really want, perhaps listen to this with them, and the Lord will bind you together with cords that cannot be broken. Do not render evil for evil, but instead be that change and that friend that you want to be. We love you.
And we have to be out of here, folks.
Bye.
You gotta say,
what's on your mind? Let's talk it out. Olive and Val. It's never a doubt. Morning vibe that feels so fine. Tune in now, it's breakfast time.
See ya.